Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Alyssa Stoney. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we take a look back at our coverage of transportation stories, from guns being brought through TSA checkpoints to efforts to make streets safer for pedestrians.
Traffic noise can be annoying, but for some, it goes beyond being a nuisance. Cronkite News reporter Molly Hudson went to one neighborhood where the traffic noise is actually causing health problems and spurring legislation.
The neighborhood in North Phoenix is home to a residential community for adults with disabilities. The highway was built before the residential community, but now the people living there hope they can make some changes to bring a little quiet to their lives. This is the noise that resident Wynn Charles lives with on a daily basis.
There's 8 lanes of traffic going constantly 24/7.
Wynn lives at Luna Azul, a residence for adults with disabilities right on the frontage road at 16th Street and the 101.
When we step outside our homes, all we hear is constant noise.
Wynn has cerebral palsy, a neurological condition that impacts her in a lot of ways, including needing to use a wheelchair. And the constant noise?
This noise is making my cerebral palsy worse. And I hate to say it, but it is.
It has even woken her up in the middle of the night.
It's anger. It's really anger because people don't understand unless I teach them, which I do on a daily basis, what cerebral palsy is.
But what frustrates her even more is the sound barrier across the street. Wynn lives in a neighborhood on this side of the street where she says the sound is unbearable. And there's no sound barrier. But if we take a few steps across the street, there's a large sound barrier protecting the desert. Senator Paul Boyer hopes to address the need for a sound barrier with his newly introduced bill.
It directs the Arizona Department of Transportation to build a sound barrier.
Boyer said ADOT reports that the sound level in the area was 0.1 decibels below the minimum for a sound barrier. And while the noise level may not meet ADOT minimum, it makes a huge difference to residents like Wynn, who is part of a collective fighting for the new law. Boyer hopes his bill will give residents the relief they need.
We wouldn't accept this if this was our backyard, and we shouldn't expect these residents to have to deal with this ridiculous amounts of noise every single evening, and during the day as well.
For Wynn, who has to play music to fall asleep, she says the entire neighborhood is impacted by the noise.
The neighbors hear, children can hear it, the vets can hear it, the neighbors behind us can hear it. We can hear it like so amazingly, and so it irritates me.
I reached out to ADOT, who said they do not comment on pending legislation. The bill goes before the Appropriations Committee tomorrow. In the newsroom, Molly Hudson, Cronkite News.
You may cringe when filling up your gas tank. Arizona ranks in the top 10 nationwide for the price of a regular gallon of gas, according to AAA. I find that several ride-sharing companies and public transit are handling the price jump in different ways. High prices and higher stress.
There are times when I'm like, I really probably shouldn't drive down there.
Lindsay Krause says the same thing as most other drivers.
It's just really expensive to fill up my tank.
Krause is a driver for DoorDash, a popular food delivery platform.
They'll offer me orders and they'll tell me what the price is gonna be and how far I'm gonna have to drive, what restaurant I'm gonna go to, and then I can decide if I wanna accept it or not.
DoorDash and other similar companies like Uber Eats and Lyft announced they're giving drivers extra funds to offset the cost of gas. Uber and Lyft are adding fees and giving them directly to drivers. DoorDash isn't raising its prices, but it's giving drivers 10% of their gas purchases through the end of April, up from the normal 2%.
It, incentivizes people to continue buying from DoorDash, which is important because the less people that buy, the less orders that I can get.
Gas prices have dipped slightly in the last week. Still, John Trenner with AAA says the West is dealing with some of the highest prices in the country.
What we can tell you about Arizona, as is true of a lot of the West, Utah, and Nevada, they are the 10 states with the largest weekly increases in price.
As of March 22nd, a regular gallon of gas in Arizona is $4.61. According to AAA, nationwide, it's $4.24. And as gas prices increase, so do the number of riders on public transit. Brittany Hoffman with Valley Metro says they've seen a jump in riders.
I can say over the past 6 months, as we have slowly seen the gas prices tick up, we have definitely seen an increase in ridership.
Valley Metro has no plans to increase fares for riders.
At this time, Valley Metro does not have plans to raise fares in any capacity due to either ridership, gas prices. That's not what causes the fluctuation in our fares.
Kraus is watching the prices closely and is more aware of how she's getting around town.
It's really important for me to go with other people and carpool so that I don't have to pay for the gas.
The average fuel surcharge for Uber and Lyft is between 35 and 55 cents per ride or order.
Phoenix is one of the worst in the nation when it comes to safety on our roads, and Phoenix has one of the highest fatality rates. The problem is worse in lower income neighborhoods and communities of color. Molly McBride tells us what the city of Phoenix is trying to do to make our streets safer.
Earlier this week, the City Council voted to join the Vision Zero network and create an action plan to make city streets safer. The plan will include major improvements to roads and intersections across the city. I talked to a local business employee who says the change is welcome.
2-car collision, 3-car collision. The most I've seen is a 4-car collision.
Giovanni Mojica works near the intersection of 19th Avenue and Southern. He says he has seen a lot of accidents during his time working at the Quick Corner. So many that he has gotten used to the sound.
And after like 3 times, you just already know that noise is so familiar. It's a car accident.
19th Avenue and Southern is one of the 3 intersections that the city of Phoenix is focusing some of its first safety efforts toward. The others are 75th Avenue and Indian School and 16th Street and Camelback. In a policy session earlier this week, the City Council heard about data from the National Highway Safety Administration that ranked Phoenix as 3rd highest for fatalities, right behind LA and Houston. The numbers don't surprise City Council members.
You know, it seems every day that we as the mayor and the City Council members get a text from our police commander liaison that alerts us to some traffic fatality. Tragically, it often involves a pedestrian.
One step as a part of the Vision Zero network is for the city to create a road safety action plan. Improvements will include modernizing traffic signals, identifying hotspots, and developing crash data analysis tools. The final plan will be presented to the City Council this fall. And for Mojica, the drive towards safety is welcome.
Well, I hope that they see that they care, that the city cares about the community. So hopefully, it uplifts the community in a better way.
The City of Phoenix is seeking input on how to improve roads in your neighborhood. You can take an interactive survey at phoenix.gov/road safety. In the newsroom, Molly McBride, Cronkite News.
$1.2 trillion in health benefits. That's how much a nationwide transition to electric vehicles and zero-emission electricity by 2050 would generate. That's according to the American Lung Association's newest report released today. Cronkite News' Autria Maneshny tells us how this transition could benefit the state.
According to the American Lung Association, Phoenix ranks 5th for unhealthy ozone conditions. But the good news is the report says that a transition to electric vehicles can help avoid deaths and asthma attacks and also bring significant benefits to lower-income communities. The Zeroing in Unhealthy Air report ranks Phoenix and Mesa 21 out of 25 U.S. metropolitan areas that would benefit the most from a transition to electric vehicles, particularly when it comes to public health.
In Arizona, this would mean $15.1 billion in public health benefits, about 1,300 avoided deaths, over 38,000 avoided asthma attacks.
Ramos says greenhouse gas emissions continue to increase climate change, leading to warmer temperatures, bad ozone conditions, and dangerous pollutants from frequent wildfires. These air pollutants are dangerous for everyone, even healthy individuals.
It also increases our susceptibility to respiratory infections like pneumonia. All of this can result in increased likelihood for ER visits and hospitalizations.
Electric vehicles are one solution to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. However, making the switch to electric vehicles has been slow, due in part to the lack of charging infrastructure, vehicle price, and overestimates of maintenance cost. But electric vehicles can be cheaper to own compared to a gas vehicle.
Also, once it's up and running, you don't have oil changes, you don't replace the brakes and all of that. So there's kind of some additional costs, there that are reduced that you may not see when there's that initial price tag.
And Cornell hopes that when people learn about the consequences of air pollution, they'll switch to an electric vehicle.
Where it's tough to have an image on TV of like someone being injured by or killed by air pollution, but that doesn't mean it's any less bad than some of these other tragedies.
The consequences are particularly high for communities of color and lower income, according to last year's State of the Air report. A person of color in the United States is up to 3 times more likely to breathe unhealthy air when compared to their white counterparts, and lower income families face the brunt of air pollution burdens because of their location.
A lot of these times, these families are living near highways, ports, warehouses, and other transportation hubs, and they do face a greater health risk.
The hope is that switching to electric vehicles will benefit all Arizonans.
I think we can build a charging infrastructure too, hopefully with that kind of environmental justice element, social justice, where we're actually making sure that all the chargers aren't just going to Scottsdale, and we're putting street parking in throughout the valley, and we're putting it in areas to make things more accessible.
The report outlines many recommendations, including state incentives to build charging stations, changing over public fleets to making it more electric vehicles, and also establishing state standards to reach 100% of sales in electric vehicles. In Phoenix, Atria Mineshny, Cronkite News.
The Transportation Security Administration found more firearms in passengers' carry-on luggage in 2021 than any other year on record. Phoenix Sky Harbor was in the nation's top 5 for guns found passing through security checkpoints. I spoke with TSA and a Valley gun instructor who stressed the importance of checking your bags before you take off. According to the FAA, Phoenix Sky Harbor is the 8th busiest airport in the country. More flights means more people passing through security.
In 2021, travelers in the state of Arizona, as well as nationwide, broke all records that we have in the 20-year history of TSA for bringing firearms in their carry-on luggage.
Patricia Mancha says passengers who have a gun in their carry-on luggage often give the same excuse.
I forgot it was in my carry-on.
In 2021, almost 6,000 firearms were discovered at TSA checkpoints. 196 of those were found at Phoenix Sky Harbor.
A lot of money, and so it didn't.
David Laird, owner of Dynamic Combative Solutions LLC, says this isn't the way to properly travel with your gun.
So you should already arrive to the airport with it being unloaded in a locked compartment with the ammunition in its original factory box. That's another rule for them.
86% of guns found last year were loaded, but as Laird points out, you can travel with a gun if it is unloaded and in your checked bag. Laird has been around guns all his life. He comes here to Ben Avery Shooting Range almost every day and says to always check the gun laws of your destination before you leave home.
Now you have to follow the rules and laws and regulations of the state you're traveling to.
Laird says states with higher gun ownership often have more cases of people using their range bag as a carry-on.
People are forgetting that the same bag they use to go to the range, their range bag, is what they're using as a carry-on, and so it has spent casings or ammunition, or it has a side pocket that they left their firearm in.
Both Laird and Mancha agree the best way to prevent firearms accidentally passing through TSA is check your bag before you start packing.
That way, when they get to airport security, they know exactly what they have with them.
If you are found with a gun in your carry-on, TSA says you can either voluntarily give it up or take it home before you travel. TSA can impose a civil penalty of up to almost $14,000.
The Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport is trying out a new system that allows customers to reserve a spot in the TSA security checkpoint line before traveling. Cronkite News reporter Sedona Meadows is at the airport learning more.
Here outside Terminal 3 is where Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport is holding a trial to see if reserving spots at TSA security will make it more efficient for customers.
Passengers are now able to reserve a spot in line at the TSA security checkpoint up to 72 hours before their flight. The pilot program is currently only open in Terminal 3 from 4 a.m. to 3 p.m. But Eric Everts, a public information officer at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, hopes this will make the check-in process easier for many.
we hope that it is able to make it a little bit more efficient of a process, save some time and stress for travelers who just, rely on coming and going through the airport, not knowing the security wait times and whatnot. So it gives them an opportunity to be able to schedule that time and save some of that time.
The process to sign up is simple as going online and reserving an appointment. Chase Matter, a passenger at Sky Harbor Airport, tried it for the very first time today.
I haven't had clear check or TSA pre-check before, so it allows me to experience it without actually going through those steps initially.
Known as virtual queuing, it is being used at other airports, including Seattle-Tacoma International Airport.
You can reserve a spot for free from anywhere from 60 minutes to 4 hours before your actual flight. So that gives you plenty of time to go grab a coffee and get to your gate. At Sky Harbor Airport, Sedona Meadows, Cronkite News. The pilot industry is changing by creating more opportunity for people wanting to become pilots and also reflecting the diverse population. The new United Aviate Academy in Goodyear has started doing just that. I spoke with a student who never believed this dream would actually take flight.
For many, this parking lot is a dream. At the United Aviate Academy, student pilots gain a year-long training with hands-on experience in the sky. Ricky Foster is among the first upcoming graduating class.
I am a mother of 2. I'm 38 years old. My son is 17 and my daughter is 6. Yeah, I'm a former flight attendant. I was a flight attendant for over 10 years, and that's how I fell in love with aviation.
From the classroom to the air, this academy is a fast track to getting hired as a United pilot.
So we take people from 0 hours, so someone who's never flown in a small airplane before, and we're going to make them a professional pilot. It happens over the course of about 9 months or so, 9 to 12 months, from 0 hours to fully certified professional pilot.
Captain Curtis Brungis oversees the training at the academy and says the school started at an important time.
We find ourselves right now in a moment when our demand for pilots in the industry is exceeding the supply of pilots.
That demand also means changing the demographic of pilots to better represent the population.
This has been a male-dominated field for a very long time, and it's predominantly white men. Well, our passengers don't necessarily look like that, and the workplace environment as a whole don't even look like that. So we're changing it, and I'm a part of that change.
But this opportunity didn't always seem like a reality for Foster. It became possible through United's scholarship funds and the school's free private pilot training that's normally $17,000. But ultimately, it wasn't until her daughter gave her a push to become a pilot.
She's just so sure that because I said I wanted it, it's going to happen. It's a beautiful thing, and I want every child to feel that way about their dreams. They're just going to go for it. They won't even stop to think that there's nobody who looks like me that does this.
Foster says she's breaking down many barriers, and she's grateful to be a role model for her young daughter.
But what she will learn from watching me is that she can be anything she wants to be. She can accomplish any goal. And there are barriers, of course, but there's always ways to overcome them.
9 years ago, Governor Jan Brewer signed Senate Bill 1128, making the fourth Thursday of every March Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day in Arizona. Cronkite News reporter NextGen was at the Luke Air Force Base to speak with some honorary Tuskegee Airmen.
The Tuskegee Airmen were the first United States African-American flying unit that fought during World War II.
They persevered when they said it couldn't be done, and I don't know what we'd be doing today if they hadn't succeeded, but they did.
According to the U.S. Census, there were only 124 African-American pilots in the nation in 1940. Because of racial segregation, the first all-black flying group took to the skies in Tuskegee, Alabama. 2 years later, the 99th Pursuit Squadron was combat-ready and deployed overseas for their first mission in North Africa.
They had a tremendous combat record, and they were the ones who broke the barrier and showed that there was no reason why anybody should be denied the opportunity to serve their country just because of the color of their skin.
By the end of the war, because of the success of the Tuskegee Airmen, those 124 African-American pilots had grown to over 1,000 black aviators. Ronald McGee's father, Charles, was one of those airmen. He says that passing his father and all of the airmen's stories down to the next generation is what Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day is all about.
They did what they thought they had to do as an American. It was victory against Hitler, and Nazism, but also against racism in the United States.
The story of the Tuskegee Airmen is an enduring one, and a story that will continue to be told on the fourth Thursday of every March. In Glendale, Nick Shesky, Cronkite News.
Scientists are excited about a historic moment approaching for humanity. The Webb Space Telescope is expected to send its first images back to Earth. Cronkite News reporter Juan Uresti speaks with two scientists about the importance of what these images could reveal.
When this thing got launched, it was just incredible. And what was even more incredible was when it got launched, everything has worked. You know, there's a lot of suspense going with checking things out when it gets up there, because if anything is wrong, you've got to figure out how to work around it. You can't fix it. But so far, fingers crossed, wood knocked on, everything has been working great.
Webb is an infrared telescope with an unprecedented scientific power due to the size of its primary mirror and the extreme sensitivity and precision of its 4 scientific instruments, which help reach farther into space and explore more planets.
We're going to understand better our place in the cosmos. We're going to characterize and maybe even find Earth-like exoplanets and understand them better. Do they have atmospheres like their own, or like our own? Do they have water in the atmosphere? Do they have oxygen in the atmosphere? Do they even have ozone in the atmosphere?
If any of these 3 elements are discovered, scientists believe that there is a great possibility to find life in other planets. In Phoenix, Juan Uresti, Cronkite News.
It's even possible scientists could get the first images from the Webb telescope this coming June.
The NASCAR Cup Series made its way to Phoenix Raceway to wrap up testing on their new next-gen race car. I went out to see the final changes drivers and teams are making, asking, is it ready for an on-track debut? Blink, and you'll miss it. From far away, you can hear it, and with your own eyes, you'll have to see it. NASCAR was in town putting the final touches on their new next-gen race car. And the biggest question everyone has, is it ready?
Yeah, for sure, it's ready. I mean, I don't know if the teams and drivers are ready, just because this car's so new and we're working through a lot of systems. But, from the standpoint of the car being ready, yeah, it's been great.
Arizona native Michael McDowell was among the 28 drivers at the next-gen test. The defending Daytona 500 winner believes this next-gen car will allow for more parity throughout the season.
With this next-gen car, I hope that we have more chances to win races than just Daytona and Talladega. I feel like it'll level the playing field and give us more opportunities.
With fans in attendance to catch a sneak peek of the new car, the changes are leaving people with mixed opinions. Some fans like change simply because others don't.
It's different, and then it makes a lot of NASCAR fans mad, and I think that's funny. A lot of NASCAR fans get kind of jaded about it because they're stuck in their ways, but I think it's totally essential. I think change is necessary.
The last time fans filed the stands at Phoenix Raceway, they witnessed Kyle Larson capture his first career championship. Larson knows all too well how to get around the mile tri-oval and has taken this test to learn how the car compares to his championship-winning ride.
Everything is just a little bit more sensitive. The steering's more sensitive, the brakes are a little more sensitive, but I wouldn't say it's any harder. We live on the edge, and you sometimes have to go over the edge until you find what the edge is.
The NASCAR Next Gen cars are set to make their debut at the LA Coliseum this weekend and will then run in the 64th running of the Daytona 500 on February 20th.
And there's nothing like caffeine and classic cars to start a morning. And for one Scottsdale coffee shop, it's a weekend tradition that draws big crowds for car owners across the West Coast. Cronkite News reporter Andrew Kurland has the story.
Cars and coffee. It's a combination that unites hundreds on a weekly basis at 4 Till 4 Coffee Shop in Scottsdale. Every Saturday, owners and fanatics of classic cars flock to the streets outside of 4 Till 4, gearing up for an event filled with fast cars and caffeine. Every week has a special theme.
This is vintage 4 cylinders, playing on the 4 and the 4 Till 4 and everything else that we do with the brand.
Nico Samaras is the owner of 4 Till 4 and started the Cars and Coffee Weekends almost 7 years ago.
From day one, we started with old Porsches. That was my background. And next thing you know, it's just kind of turned into a little bit of everything. So now we mix it up with different types of cars, feature different cars on different weekends. And yeah, it's just kind of a madness.
Some weekends pull crowds upward of 100 cars. Owners from as far as Telluride will make the trip. It's Mia Agilian's job to manage it all.
Seem to come from all over. Yeah, there was a guy who drove 500 miles yesterday just to come out to the event today, and we get a lot of people from California, Southern Arizona, all around the West Coast areas.
There are a lot of regulars who attend the Cars and Coffee events. Jim Vorowski is one of them, and today he brought his Porsche that he bought all the way back in 1983. For Vorowski, it's the car community that keeps him coming back.
And the culture is that people love cars, and it doesn't make any difference if it's a new car or an old car like this one, or one that's, you know, maybe beat up a little bit, but the person loves the car. It's just a fever, I guess, for folks that enjoy cars. I owned my first car at 13, and that's a long time ago.
It's a culture, and it all comes down to two simple things: cars and coffee. In Scottsdale, Andrew Kurland, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. And for top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.